Picture this. It's an ordinary Tuesday. The world is a hive of activity, but it's a specific kind of frantic. It's the kind where everyone is doing the same thing. They're scrolling, they're posting, they're chasing a hit of validation from a digital crowd they'll never meet. They're taking pictures of their lives instead of living them. They're building a network of connections, but they've never felt more alone. Now, imagine one person who isn't participating. They're just standing there. They're not checking their phone. They're not worried about what anyone else is doing. There's a stillness about them that's almost unsettling. They seem completely comfortable in their own company. They're not looking for a like, a comment, or an emoji. They're not seeking anything from anyone. And this person is the most dangerous one in the room. But why? Why does a person who is complete in their own existence, who doesn't need external approval, who can sit with the silence of their own mind without needing to escape, why does this terrify society? Hold that thought. We're about to explore a concept that will fundamentally change how you view freedom. The great illusion of togetherness. Here is the inconvenient truth that society doesn't want you to confront. The entire modern world is built on your dependence on others. Think about it. Every news headline, every celebrity endorsement, every trend on social media, every pop psychology listicle, they all operate on one simple, foundational premise. You are not enough on your own. You are told to find your tribe, to join a community, to be part of something bigger than yourself. But what if that something bigger is actually holding you back from discovering your true self? What if the person who stands alone, perfectly content with their own mind, represents a truth so threatening to our social structure that we've collectively agreed to label them as lonely or antisocial? Friedrich Nietzsche, the great philosopher of individualism, saw this coming centuries ago. He said, "The individual has always had to struggle not to be overwhelmed by the tribe." He understood that the power of the group is an overwhelming force, one that demands conformity and punishes those who dare to think for themselves. Here is what I've come to understand. Society doesn't fear the person who can't be alone. Society fears the person who doesn't need to be with anyone. That person cannot be controlled. And that is the source of their power, the architecture of an unbound mind. So, what is actually happening inside the mind of a person who consistently chooses solitude over the easy comfort of a crowd? It's not a deficiency. It's a profound and deliberate psychological architecture. This is a person who understands that true mental strength is not about enduring others, but about mastering yourself. They have transcended the need for validation. While the modern world has everyone locked in a frantic, dopamine-fueled cycle of seeking that next hit from a notification, the unbound person has found something far more fulfilling. A self-worth that is not measured by external metrics. They've built their own internal reward system, where peace of mind is the ultimate currency. They understand that trying to build a sense of self on the shifting sands of public opinion is a fool's errand. They are no longer a reflection in 1,000 different mirrors. They are a singular, solid entity. They've moved beyond the shallow, transactional nature of social media and are now engaging in the deep, transformative work of true self-creation. They have befriended discomfort. The vast majority of people will do anything to avoid being alone with their own thoughts. They'll fill every spare moment with noise, scrolling, binge-watching, constant chatter. Why? Because the silence is a mirror, and it forces them to confront who they really are. But the person who embraces solitude has already had those 3 a.m. conversations with themselves. They've faced their fears, their insecurities, their past failures, and their quietest anxieties. And in that confrontation, they've found a deep, unshakable strength. This is not about being antisocial. It's about being deeply, fundamentally self-reliant. It's a journey from avoiding your inner world to becoming its sovereign ruler. They are immune to manipulation. This is the core of their danger. When you don't need others for validation, you become an unmovable object in a world built on shifting emotional ground. You can't be controlled by the threat of rejection. You can't be bought with fleeting popularity. You can't be silenced by social pressure, because the approval you seek is your own. In the timeless words of Friedrich Nietzsche, he saw that the will to power, the desire to create and overcome, is a force that is stifled by the need to conform. Nietzsche understood that true psychological liberation is the act of stepping out of the herd's shadow and becoming your own light source. He wrote that the truly dangerous person is the one who forges their own path, not for the sake of rebellion, but for the sake of becoming who they are meant to be. The truly dangerous person, in the best sense of the word, is the one who has done the internal work. When you know yourself deeply, when you've examined your own motivations and faced your own shadow, the shallow games of others become transparent. Their attempts to manipulate you become comical. Their social hierarchies become irrelevant. You are dangerous because you are free, the creation of your own universe. Nietzsche pushed this idea even further. He saw that the truly dangerous person is the one who doesn't just reject society's values, but actively, courageously creates their own. He saw this coming. He said that the will to power, the fundamental drive of all living beings, is not about dominating others, but about mastering oneself and imprinting one's own values on the world. Most people walk through life with a moral code they never chose. They believe what they believe because their parents believed it, their friends believed it, their culture believed it. They are, in essence, living a borrowed life. They are following a pre-written script, a blueprint for existence that was handed to them. But the person who spends time alone, in true solitude, begins to ask the uncomfortable questions. Why do I believe this? Who benefits from me believing this? What would I value if I had to start my life from a blank slate? This is where the real danger begins. Because once you start thinking for yourself, you stop being predictable. You stop being a passive participant. You stop being a good little consumer who buys what they're told to buy, votes how they're told to vote, and lives how they're told to live. The modern world has created a profound epidemic of what we call loneliness, but it has deliberately confused it with solitude. The distinction is not just a matter of semantics. It is a matter of psychological and existential survival. Loneliness is a state of deficiency. It's the painful feeling that something is missing, that you need others to fill a void within you. A lonely person is a perfect consumer, an ideal citizen for a system built on perpetual dissatisfaction. They will buy products to feel better. They will seek validation through purchases. They will remain distracted and compliant, always looking for something outside of themselves to complete them. Solitude is a state of abundance. It is the profound sense of completeness you find in your own company, the peace you discover in the stillness of your own mind. A person who enjoys solitude isn't buying anything to fill a void. They are building a universe within themselves. They are not seeking validation. They are generating it from within. They are not distracted. They are thinking. They are creating. They are becoming. They are fulfilling their own will to power by becoming the ultimate artist, the artist of their own life. And thinking people are dangerous to systems that depend on thoughtless compliance. Nietzsche saw this paradox. True freedom doesn't come from joining a group, but from creating your own internal universe of meaning and value. He believed that the overman or superman would be an individual who transcended the morality of the herd and forged his own destiny. After studying these ideas, I've come to identify four key pillars that make solitude not just bearable, but a source of immense power. Radical self-honesty. The dangerous loner has learned to be honest with themselves about their motivations, their fears, their desires. They don't lie to themselves to feel better. They face reality head-on. This makes them dangerous because they can spot lies in others. Why? Because lies are the currency of the fragile. When you have faced the full, unvarnished truth of who you are, the flaws, the shadows, the failures, the small deceptions of others become transparent. They are no longer a threat. They are simply a tell, a sign of a mind that has not yet done the work. You are not just seeing their lies. You are seeing their fear. Value independence. They've developed their own moral code based on reason and experience, not social pressure or tradition. This makes them dangerous because they can't be controlled by shame or guilt. Because shame and guilt are society's invisible leashes. When your values are a blueprint you forged yourself, not a set of rules you inherited, there is no one who can threaten to exile you from a group you never truly joined. You are the architect of your own morality, and that makes you unshameable, unguiltable, and ultimately free. Emotional self-sufficiency. They don't depend on others for their emotional well-being. They've learned to regulate their own emotions, to find peace within themselves. This makes them dangerous because they can't be emotionally manipulated. Why? Because emotional manipulation is a psychological tether that can only work if you grant it power. When your emotional center is located within you, not in the fluctuating opinions of others, their anger, their drama, their approval or their disapproval lose their power over you. They can no longer hold your happiness hostage, and you become an emotional fortress, calm in the eye of any storm. Intellectual courage. They're willing to think thoughts that others won't think, to question beliefs that others take for granted. This makes them dangerous because they can't be silenced by social pressure. Why? Because true intellectual courage is a rebellion of the mind. In a world where echo chambers and groupthink are the norm, a person who dares to question the sacred cows of their culture is a force of disruption. They don't fear being weird or wrong, because they understand that the path to truth is often a solitary one, walked in the face of a crowd that prefers comfortable lies to unsettling questions. Now, let's address the beautiful paradox of this journey. When you are complete in yourself, when you aren't needy or desperate, that is magnetic. People are drawn to that kind of energy, to a person who is not looking to them for completion but rather for connection. But here is the critical distinction. You are not doing it to attract others. You are doing it because it is the only way to live a truly free life. The attraction is a byproduct, not the goal. Relationships improve when you don't need them. Friendships deepen when they're optional. Your work becomes more fulfilling when you're not desperate for approval. Life becomes more meaningful when you're not constantly seeking external validation. So here is my challenge to you. Become dangerous. Not dangerous in the sense of hurting others, dangerous in the sense of being impossible to control. Dangerous in the sense of thinking for yourself. Dangerous in the sense of being complete by yourself. Dangerous in the sense of having your own values, your own moral code, your own source of strength. The world needs more people who can't be bought, can't be manipulated, can't be silenced. The world needs more people who are comfortable in their own skin, who don't need constant validation, who can sit with their thoughts without needing to escape. The world needs more people who are dangerous. If this idea resonated with you, I want to ask you to do two things. First, share this with someone who needs to hear it. And second, drop a comment below and tell me, what's one belief you've been carrying that you never chose for yourself? What's one area where you've been seeking validation instead of developing self-respect? Remember, in a world full of people desperate to fit in, the most radical act is learning to stand alone. Stay dangerous, my friends.